and we're going to paint this tag. Now you might be painting it on something different than a chipboard tag, but that's fine. This measures 7 by 3.5 or 7.5 by 3, one of those things. So I hope you grabbed something out of your stash and decided to come and paint with me. We're using DecoArt acrylic paints and just a very few brushes. I make up for that by the number of paints that I use. If you got the pattern, you probably saw that. So the first thing we're going to do is, I'm going to get my palette cam focused again. And we are going to give our tag or our surface a quick coat of Whispering Turquoise. So hopefully yours isn't as messy as mine. You want to take a large brush and just a quick coat. It doesn't have to be opaque. And so we're just going to slap on some Whispering Turquoise. And as you can see, I'm going at a diagonal just like my piece kind of is at done at a diagonal, just to help it along a little bit. And I apologize, my allergies have been crazy the last couple of days, so I'll probably be sniffing a lot. But oh well, that's what you get. Anyway, so here we go. Quick coat, you see it's not opaque. And if you have a handy dandy heated craft gun or a hair dryer handy, you can dry that really fast so we can move on. So I love this heated craft gun. You can get them on Amazon. If you do order it on Amazon, just make sure that you get the American one, not the European one, unless you're in Europe. Then you want the European one. But if you get the European one, you're going to want to send it back. So, but I love this thing. It's hot enough to dry stuff, but not so hot it peels the paint off. So the next thing that you want to do is you want to get out some desert turquoise on your palette. And we also want to get some Indian turquoise. And we'll get that over here. So I haven't washed this brush out. It still has Whispering Turquoise in it, mainly because I'm lazy, but it works just the same. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up this darker desert turquoise, and I'm going to start down here in the bottom right corner, and I'm just going to start brushing on some of this darker color. And I'm again doing it diagonally. So get out there a little ways. And you may want to pick up just a little water to keep it the paint moving a little more. And so then I'm going to get into Indian turquoise again. I didn't wash out my brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stroke that across the center area. And what I want to do, picking up a little more water, is I want to kind of blend that desert turquoise and that Indian turquoise together. Now this area is going to have the flower in it, so it's not going to show all that much. And then I'm going to go back and pick up a little Whispering Turquoise, which was our base color. And I'm going to finish off that corner and blend it back in to that middle value of turquoise. And it's okay if it's streaky. It's fine. I also want to pick up a little bit of warm white because I want to make this area where the lettering is going to go, I want to make that just a little lighter. So just a little warm white, again, on a dirty big brush. And I'm just going to stroke that through this area where the lettering will go. I got a little too crazy there, so I had to put some Indian turquoise back in. All right, you can wash your brush out now. Okay. And again, if you have your handy dandy hair dryer or heated gun, you can dry this really fast. The next thing we're going to do is put the pattern on for the plumeria, the leaves, and the lettering. So you want to get out your tracing. and some graphite paper. And let's put that pattern on. Hello. And graphite paper. I'm using dark. I tried earlier, I used light and I couldn't see it very well. So I'm going to put this pattern on for these petals. Easy. A plumeria is just a 5-petal flower. And what's kind of nice about it is it's like I forget what it's called, like a windmill or something. Each petal overlays the one next to it, going around. So just quick little lines for the leaves so we know where they go. And see, yep, that went on there. And I'm going to do the lettering so I don't have to do it later. And with the lettering, I just kind of do a line through the center of the lettering. Now you don't have to outline it or anything. And you can make this say whatever you want. It doesn't have to say live aloha. All right, cool. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to base in the flower with bubblegum pink. And it's just one coat will do it. It doesn't have to be opaque because we put so much stuff on top of it. I mean, we got dry brushing and shading and lining and all kinds of stuff on top of there. So I'm just going to go through and base in my petals very quickly. And I kind of like to base in one petal at a time because that way I can kind of keep track of the petal shape a little bit easier, if that makes any sense. I have a backyard full of plumeria. I call my husband the Plumeria Whisperer. He grows them from seed and splices them. So I have plumeria that have 3 different colored flowers on them. And they're just now starting to bloom, all of them. I'm anxious for my orange one to bloom. I've never had an orange one, and we bought an orange one last year, and it hasn't bloomed yet.
You need to post pictures so you can show us how beautiful they are. I'd love to see them.
And red and purple.
Well, you have several people painting with you tonight, and thank you all for coming.
We're talking about moving, but we can only move someplace where he can do his plumeria. It's one of the requirements. So there, just a quick base coat of bubblegum pink. And then if you need to get your pattern again, you can do that, but you just want to put in the separation between the petals here, so you know which one's on top. And you notice the center, I kind of did a little curve here. They don't just go straight in, they have a little curve. Okay, I guess I should look at my directions. So this is going to be a process. It's not a 1, 2, 3 step thing and you're done. What you want to do is get out some golden straw or golden yellow, whichever one you prefer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry brush some golden yellow straw around the center of this plumeria, working each petal on its own, not as a whole, but each petal separately. And if you have a way you'd like to dry brush, then go head into it and do it. I'll show you how I like to dry brush. And if you want, you can give it a try. I like to use these Langnickel short round sable brushes. They have a point when you first buy them, and after you dry brush with them for a while, they kind of get flat, but that's still good for dry brushing. I like them when they're not quite flat all the way yet, but they don't have as sharp a point. So I'm going to pick up some golden straw and kind of rub it around on my palette to work the color into the brush a little bit. And then what I like to do is come to my towel and kind of wipe it out because it is a dry brush. So I don't want a lot of paint in there. Then I go to this area of my hand and I scrub it on there. It's not going to kill you or anything or make your hand fall off. At least it hasn't mine yet, and I've been doing this for years. But when I hit that area, I can feel cool. It's cool. And as I scrub on it, it loses its coolness. It doesn't get hot. It just loses its coolness. And that's a pretty good indicator that I've taken enough paint out of my brush that I can go to my piece and start dry brushing some yellow onto these petals. So I'm just going to go around, and I'm going from the center out, and I'm just dry brushing some golden straw into the center of these petals. And I may come back later and dry brush more, depends on how heavy-handed I get with my shading. Luckily, this flower only has 5 petals, so it should be a pretty quick endeavor to get this dry brushing on there. See, there's the sniff. All right, so I've got some yellow around my center. So I'm going to scrub my brush out on my towel pretty good because I want to use it again. Because now I'm going to dry brush some highlights in this wider section towards the tip of the flowers with light buttermilk first. So we'll get out some light buttermilk. You don't need a whole lot of paint. I've put out too much in my pile. I'm going to pick up some light buttermilk, and again, I'm dry brushing. That's why I didn't rinse my brush out, because I wanted it to stay dry. And if you can see, I'm getting nice value graduation here on the back of my hand. It's always handy if you go to the grocery store as a conversation starter. So I'm going to go up here and just dry brush some highlighting. The first couple of dry brushes are going to be a little more yellow than I like, but as I add more buttermilk, light buttermilk to my brush, they'll lighten up. So let's go here. Just kind of look at your petal and decide, what do I want? Do I want this highlight to go all the way across here and down the center a little bit, or just on one side? It's completely up to you. I'll tell you, think like a plumeria, but a lot of parts of the country don't have plumerias, which is why we won't be moving there. That and the grandkids. Okay. So this one is a little too yellow to suit me, so I'm going to go back and pick up a little more light buttermilk and brighten that up a little bit. Okay. That looks great, I think, but I'm kind of prejudiced. So now we are going to float some royal fuchsia onto our, you can wash your brush out, by the way. We're going to float some royal fuchsia onto our flowers, and that's going to be to separate them from each other and to start forming these fold over parts that most plumerias have. So royal fuchsia,
Sandy?
which is a very pretty pink.
Sandy?
I'll go right here. So just a regular old side load float, but you want to blend it out pretty well so it stays soft. And I'm just going to start separating these petals from each other first. So I'll go around like a windmill, or what do they call those? The little spinner things. And I like to use a mop brush to soften floats. So if you have a mop brush handy, that might come in really nice to make your floats nice and soft. And then we're going to just keep working our way around the flower, setting petals on top of each other. Oops. It doesn't help if you load the wrong side of the brush. That never happens to you, I'm sure. Okay. So now I'm going to start floating around the other side, but I'm going to float it just a little bit removed from the edge so I can make these fold over sections, these curls. So I'll probably start here and start setting in those little curls. And I'll come all the way down to the center. And I'll move that over there so you can see it. And let's see, let's set in this one. And we'll define them more with a liner brush and some light buttermilk and warm white. So if you don't get it just right, don't even worry about it, because we'll make it look right further down the line. All right, so I've got one side done. I'm going to go over and float some color on the other side. And the other side usually doesn't have much of a fold over, so you can get right on the edge. It's looking good already. Okay, I did that already. All right, cool. So now what you need is a liner brush, and you're going to get into your light buttermilk, and this is where you're going to line and define those folded over edges, those curls. So just a liner brush and a little bit of thinned light buttermilk. And let's see, I'll start in the middle here. And you kind of flatten your brush out a little bit when you get to parts that you want to be wider. It's not the same width line. And like this guy's going to go around the corner a little bit. All right. So let's put it this way because that's the way it goes. So just make sure when you're bringing them into the center that you keep that little curve into the center because that's how they are. So we're going to get some warm sunset, which is an orange, a nice orange. If you don't have warm sunset, because it's a newer color, you can use spiced pumpkin, any other of the lighter oranges. You could use burnt orange, but I would like you to lighten it up a little bit with some warm white or some golden straw. But warm sunset is my new favorite orange color. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to float some stronger color into the center of these petals with that warm sunset. And this is where you could lose your yellow a little bit, but if you do, we just come back and dry brush it back in. So I'm avoiding those little white edges, those light buttermilk edges, and I'm just gonna tuck a little bit of warm sunset or whatever orange you're using around the center. It's not a whole lot of floating, just enough to tint that center a little bit. No, I could not hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. What should I be doing?
Woohoo!
Yeah.
So we have several people painting with you tonight
Cool.
and a lot of people watching.
Awesome. That works. All right. Let's see. What is our next thing? We are going to deepen this pink shading just a little bit with some floats of red violet. So another pretty color. You don't need a lot, just a dot. And blend it out a little. And what you're going to do is you're going to come up under those folded over things just to set them in just a little bit more. And then drag it down the side a little bit. So I'm going to start here in the top, go up against that little fold over edge and down the side a little bit. Just to make that a little bit more prominent. I'm getting to use all my big words tonight.
A lot of people are saying it's very pretty.
It's turning out pretty good, I must say myself.
Is this being recorded? It is being recorded by Facebook. So it will be on the group until we take it down.
All right. So we just deepened that a little bit. And now you're going to take your liner brush and some thinned red violet, and you're going to very quickly line these little, I don't know what they're called, vein lines. in around the center on each petal. Don't make them too thick. Keep them as thin as you can. And don't make them a career. You don't have to sit there and painstakingly line each line. You can do it really quickly.
Heidi Allison says she can't wait to paint hers. She loves Plumeria's great design, Sandy. And Susan Mike said, love watching you paint.
Oh,
Janine says, thank you. Carolyn says, can we still order the pattern?
Yes, you may.
Yes, you can.
If you order the e-pattern, you just get the directions and the pictures and stuff. But if you order the packet, you get a tag in the packet. So just added a few little vein lines around the center. And while you have red violet in your brush, you want to just tap the very center in. And what you can do, and let me see if you can see this. I'm tapping in the center, but I'm kind of avoiding those white where the edges kind of went into the center. And then another new color heard from, not a new color, but burnt umber, something we don't have on our palette yet, but we'll use it on the leaves. So you want to just pick a little bit up on your liner brush and tap some burnt umber into the bottom half of that center, just to deepen it a little bit. Now, with your liner brush and thinned warm white, we want to highlight these edges just a little bit, these rolled over edges. So you just here and there line a little bit of warm white just to brighten them up a little bit. Doesn't have to be the whole edge, mainly at the tips. Just to spark them up a little bit. Okay. Now here's where you look at your flower and you decide, do I need more yellow in it? Do I need more highlights? And I'm looking at mine and I'm thinking, I want just a little bit brighter highlight on my petals. So I'm going to scrub out my dry brush so it's dry. And I'm going to pick up a little warm white. And I'm going to go to my piece and I'm just going to brighten up this highlight a little bit here and there. Not everywhere and not the whole dry brush highlight that I did before with light buttermilk, but just a touch, just to brighten up those outer sides of the petals. This is where you would go if you wanted to add more yellow into your flower. You could pick up some golden yellow and dry brush a little more of the yellow coming out from your centers. It's completely up to you. Right. So now, believe it or not, the Plumeria part is done. And we are going to work on the leaves. Now the leaves, you need avocado. We have all different colored leaves in the backyard on our plants, but I'm kind of prone to like the ones that have a little bit of brown in them. So that's what you got on this one. So I'm going to make a wash, kind of a heavy wash of avocado. And I'm just going to paint in those leaves with this heavy wash of avocado. Doesn't have to be opaque, obviously it's a wash. And they aren't entire full leaves, so you get off easy there. You don't have to deal with the tips or anything. But let's just paint some quick leaves. Here, 3 of them, just to be more pleasing to the eye. Okay, now these are still wet, but I'm going to take my flat brush and I'm going to pick up a little bit of golden straw. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some lighter areas on my leaves, and it's actually going to go on both sides of the center vein line. So all I'm going to do is just kind of go in here like this. And it looks kind of gaudy now, but it'll look better later. And I'm going to give those leaves some highlights.
You're a little off camera for the Facebook.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome. So just pick where the center vein line is and stroke some highlights out from the center. Right? And then I am going to pick up just a little warm white on one side of that dirty brush. And just on the whatever you decide is the top part of the leaf, I'm going to pull a little bit lighter. So I'm going to make the top part of the leaf a little bit brighter. This one, it can be either side, I guess. Okay. Quick leaves, nothing fancy schmancy about them. I do want to dry them a little bit because I need to shade them. So my shading, I'm going to do on the leaf next to the flower with burnt umber. So let's get in there first. Okay, last one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to float burnt umber up both sides of the leaves. Or down both sides, however you want to go at it. I guess this would be down. So the leaves have a center vein line and some little veins coming out from there, the center, and that's just done with avocado plus some burnt umber, just to make it a deeper avocado green. And that's with your liner brush and then the avocado burnt umber mix. You should see the motions I'm making with my hands that you can't see. So just a quick little vein line and side veins. This needs to go longer. Okay. So now another different color with ocean blue. You're going to float shading around the flower and the leaves, just to pop it off the background a little more. This is a really quick project. You could paint up a whole ton of these really quickly. So I'm just going to go around the flower and next to the leaves, wherever they're on a blue background. So now you can't say I can't paint plumerias, because they're really not that hard. And let's go all the way around this flower and leaf. Here again, if you like to use a mop brush, this would be a good place to use it. I don't know if you noticed, but when I get into what I call V areas, I always like to kind of walk that color out, so it's not just a solid line of float following the shape. My speaker keeps shutting itself off. Okay, some quick background.
Interesting music.
I know, it's my speaker. I think it needs to be charged. So there we go. That shading's done. If you feel like you want some more dry brush highlights in the area where the lettering is, you could do that real quickly with some warm white with a touch of whispering turquoise. But the lettering is done with lamp black and a liner brush. And if you've ever done lettering with me, you know that I'm never happy to just line the lettering. So there's going to be a couple things to do to the lettering just to make it more interesting. So I like to use, this is I think it's a number 1 liner. I've worn the number off of it, so I can't tell. But I always like to kind of flatten my liner brush out to a square point when I'm doing lettering. So, and there's no rule that says when you do your lettering, you have to do it the way you write with a pen or anything. You can do it in sections, start and stop. So I'm going to do this and stop. And then I will come up here and add this and stop. And come back here. So I just kind of do what's comfortable to my hand instead of trying to contort my hand to follow the letter, if that makes any sense. So there, and then I'll start here. To me, it's a little easier to pull towards myself than it is to pull away. So that's why I do that. I took basic lettering classes when I was in high school. So that always comes in handy when I'm doing this stuff. So it helps if you hold your mouth right when you're doing the lettering, and the way I hold it might not be the way you need to hold your mouth. So I'm not going to show you how I'm holding my mouth. All right. Only got a couple more things to do and you'll have this thing complete. So one of the things that I always like to do to my lettering is to line a shadow. I don't know if you could see that. Line a shadow to the top and left of each letter with a shading color. In this case, it would be ocean blue, which you have out on your palette. So I thin it down, make a nice liner consistency of ocean blue, and using the same liner brush that I painted the lettering with, I'm going to go down the left side and across the top of wherever I have a letter. So just kind of, it's not the whole letter, it's just the top and the left side. And that just will help to pop the lettering off the background a little bit. So if you ever take a class from me, you can be prepared and know that just because we have the lettering done the lettering lined on doesn't mean we're done with it. Is that fair warning? My husband teases me because I like to watch Hawaii. No, what is it? Magnum PI.
Yeah, me too.
Because I love the scenery.
Connie was a little late, I guess, and she wanted to know what are the background colors.
It's Whispering Turquoise, and then you blend in Desert Turquoise down in the lower right corner. Then you blend in Indian Turquoise through the center, and you blend in Whispering Turquoise and a little warm white in the top left, and just kind of blend them together. Okay, we're going to do one more thing to this lettering, and that's with our liner brush and warm white. And I think you can see it here. We're going to line this little, let's see, there you go, this little accent line to the left of each letter. And you're also going to add this squiggly line around the edge. And all this does is pop the lettering off the background even a little bit more. It's next to that shadow that you put on. Okay.
Everyone is loving it, Sandy.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Oops, I forgot to put the blue shadow there. But it'll be okay. All right. So now we just need to add that squiggly line around that outside edge. And that really does add to the piece and finish it off nicely. So just a liner brush and thin warm white. And you just kind of do a nervous little stripe around the edge. Now you could do these, you could paint the flower yellow, do a yellow plumeria and put the orange in the center. That would look real nice. The white with the orange, I might put a little pink in the center too. Just so many different color variations that you can do. But now you have the basic idea of how to paint yourself a little plumeria. Ooh, where did I go? There I am.